On a mission given to me by Woody Shaw, Sunship, Dizzy, and Billy Higgins, dedicated to pursuing a piece of our cultural heritage through interviews with my jazz heroes, this is The Jake Feinberg Show. Folks, welcome to a special edition of The Jake Feinberg Show. And I'm joined today by a musical living legend. Born in 1929 in New York, my guest remained under the radar for some time, but yet his resume really speaks for itself. He was Lester Young's regular pianist from 1953 to 1956. And he was also part of a group called the Jazz Modes, featuring Charlie Rouse, Julius Watkins, Sonny Stitt, and Benny Green. For a period of time, he was the trio that backed up Lambert, Hendricks, and Ross, later to become known as Lambert, Hendricks, and Bevan. When he moved to Los Angeles, he became one of those in-demand studio and live players around, working with the likes of Leon Thomas, Jim Hall, Harold Land, Blue Mitchell Quintet, James Moody, and of course working with Stu Gardner and Bill Cosby and the Badfoot Brown and the Bunions Funeral Marching Band. His career has spanned it has spanned the last 80 years. Gildo Mahones, it's an honor to welcome you to the Jake Feinberg Show.
Oh, thank you so much. It's an honor. Thank you.
Gildo, I wanted to ask you, when you were born, and once you got your earliest memories of growing up in your family, was the Depression on top of you guys, and if so, what was home like for your family? How did your folks keep the house together, and what were some of the musical sounds that were going on all around you at that time as a young boy?
Going back, let me see. I was born in East Harlem, which is Spanish Harlem, and so I heard a lot of Spanish music, but Puerto Rican music, and at that time we were going through the Depression that had just passed a little while back, and so things were kind of rough. So we used to have like house rent parties. My mother used to hear to make ends meet, and I remember those things going on when I was very small. And she would hire some musicians, like a trio, guitar player and guitar player, singer, and some kind of percussion instrument. And they would charge so much at the door, and they would provide food like chicken, whatnot, Spanish food, rice and beans, and all that kind of stuff, good stuff, pastillas and all that. So I heard music at an early age, and then it was much later that when I grew older, that she sent me to a friend of hers who was a piano teacher. She went to this lady to take piano lessons. And I took one lesson. That went pretty good. She showed me the scales, that's all I see, that kind of stuff. And then I went back the next week, and I forgot one of the notes, and she proceeded to wrap me on the knuckles.
Wow.
I said, this is not going to work. I refused to go back. So that was the end of that. I was about 7 then. I didn't go back to the piano until I was in my teens. But that's how it started. And I heard all types of music, naturally. We lived in, like I said, in Manhattan, Spanish City on 5th Street. Then we moved to the 126th Street behind the Apollo. I could see the space shore from my window. And I saw a lot of people walking in, and we used to try and sneak into the Apollo, but backstage and all that kind of stuff was going on, so I heard music that way. And finally, what was happening, we moved further on in the same street, but further north. It's still on 26th Street, but now between St. Nicholas and Amsterdam Avenue. There were these brownstone houses. We moved there. It was a 4-story house. And there was a piano. My mother still wanted to get a piano. We couldn't afford it at the time. But anyway, we were on the 3rd floor. And a neighbor moved out the complex and left this piano. So my mother heard about this. So she told the supervisor, she get the piano and said, it's okay, you have to move it because I want to rent the place. If you move, you got it. So at that time I had been sick, I had a cold, and I had been saving money to buy a little camera that used to be, I remember, in the back of the comic books. If you send, I think it's $3 or $4 to exchange one of these grinding cameras. So I've been saving money for that. I used to have a paper route. And I was saving my money pennies to do that. So I left the money on top of the bureau in my room. And she came and took that money and gave it to 2 guys to move the piano. So that made me kind of...
There goes the piggy bank, you know. Yeah.
I wanted the camera. So anyway, they moved the piano. Was there. It was in the little room between the kitchen and another little bedroom. They were real little apartments, you know. So I used to pass the piano every day on my way to school, but I still wouldn't touch it. I was so, frustrated because I still wanted the camera. So she didn't say anything. She just she mentioned it, and still I wouldn't touch the piano. So then my stepfather, he was a merchant seaman. He brought one of his friends home for dinner one night, and this guy could play like Teddy Wilson, Art Tatum, that kind of style.
Right.
I never heard anybody play like that. I heard things like that on the radio, but not in your home would you see a guy playing right in front of you. So I was intrigued by that, and he was very nice. So he started giving me lessons. Every time that ships were in town, he would come to the house and they would give him dinner because they couldn't afford to pay him any money. So he would give him dinner and he would give me a lesson. So that's how I started with that.
Well, a few questions off of that. Can you, when you talk about Spanish Harlem, you had a huge amount of Puerto Ricans that came up during that time, Cubans, Afro-Cubans. So how early on... Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, my question was, how early did you actually see the African drums? I mean, when you were those things? When I think of Spanish Harlem, I'm thinking more like late 50s, early 60s with Willie Bobo and those guys. But you're going back to the 30s. I'm trying to. What was What was the Spanish music like? Was there a lot of percussion at that time, or was it different?
No, there was percussion. There's percussion, and at the time, the ones that I saw at the house were like the guys who were doing like the conga drum or timbales or the other little drum, bongos. It was one of those things, they'd been to the house. Since it was an apartment, it wasn't room for a whole lot of stuff, but there's 3 guys, they will bring certain instruments and drums.
And
so I heard that, and probably some of the neighbors, they heard the music on the records. They had records at that time, 78. I would hear that on the radio, or they would play the records. So I heard that, and the clubs, probably had clubs.
If you would, talk about your feelings about percussion within the musical context. I find it to be extremely important, but because I'm not a musician, I can't feel it. It's not inside of me, but I hear it, and I know that it's a very grounding thing. I just wanted you to talk about the relevance of percussion.
Well, you have rhythm and everything. You do in any kind of movement. You're going to have rhythm. If you play an instrument, you have rhythm of the notes, rhythm of the harmony, rhythm of the melody, and then the instruments. You bring the instruments into the thing. You have the percussion, like you said, percussion, all types of percussion instruments, or bells, or whistles, or tambourines. All that's percussion, and all that is rhythm. It's based on rhythm, some sort of rhythm, and it's a steady beat, and a combination of different rhythms. And that's how it goes with that. Let's clear it up a little bit.
Dude, we're talking to Gildo Mahones. By the way, just for the record, the skipper Henry Franklin about half a year ago was like, you need to interview Gildo Mahones, and the timing came about, and he was the one that put me in contact with you.
He's my man. Right?
Well, I'll tell you, it's part of, you experienced music on both coasts, as Henry did as well, but the East Coast jazz scene has really been, in my mind, it's been well chronicled. Anything from Mingus to Miles to Coltrane, Parker, but the West Coast scene, I mean, you've been living on the West Coast, if I'm not mistaken, for the last quite a while. I mean, you moved out there, and
65 or 66, something like that.
And I love the fact that I have this opportunity to highlight these titans of music on the left coast. And I know, because a lot of people talk about this, the LA, the straight bop, the Bud Shank and the Chet Bakers and the Mondra, and Shelly Mann's, like, all that is incredible. But a lot of those guys have passed away. So for now, it's my responsibility to go after those cats that were grooving out there. And I just, Skipper was like my fourth guest ever, and it was a total blessing, because the guy he recognized immediately what I was trying to do, and he's been giving me all these unsung heroes like yourself. So to me, it's like anything that you can add from a rhythm point of view, because this interview is going to live on for years because of the advent of the internet. It's going to fly all over the place.
Oh my goodness!
And it will have a profound impact on future pianists in Europe and in Asia and all over the place. So. But enough about that. I was reading Malcolm X's biography a while ago. He used to go to Small's Paradise quite a bit. You live in
right.
Can you talk about what was when you were of age? What a great club. Why it was such a great club, and the kind of people that used to go in there. Did you play in there?
Sure, I sure did. Let me back up. Like I said, after I finished. Mr. John Powers what's the name of the music teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And after a while, he taught me the songs that he knew, like Fats Water tunes, like They Misbehaving, and type of music. So anyway, I was able to progress very quickly, learn this type of songs. After a while, I joined what's called a little band called Young Dukes of Rhythm, which requires my age. And we started playing around the different clubs. And we would go to, say, like I said, the Smalls or Connie's. They would have sessions there at a place called Connie's, which was across the street from Smalls Paradise. And we'd go there and jam. And there was another club called Club Baron, and there was another called Showman's, and Showman's Club Baron.
Were there any chicken and waffle houses that you used to play in?
Yes, Roscoe's Chicken and Waffle.
Exactly, I remember. Yep.
And then there was Count Basie's. It was another club that had jazz, and we walked there and do sessions. And let me see where else there were. There was a club on 26th Street called Showman's, and they had sessions there. I worked there with Lou Donaldson, and let me see. Oh, the Baby Grand.
Right, Live at Club Baby Grand, yeah.
Now, Nipsey Russell used to work there for years. And I remember working there when I got myself together and backing up Earl May when he was introducing Gloria Lynn. And I remember playing for her and Earl May at Baby Grand. Wow. And later on, I remember playing at the Brooklyn Baby Grand with Art Farmer was his group, and Betty Carter was the singer. And so that was interesting too. And so anyway, there were many clubs. And maybe I left them out, but right now those are the ones that come to mind. And it was like, I remember working with Sonny Stitt, Lou Donaldson. Oh, at that time there were different organizations would get these parties, and they would hire a couple of bands that would have a rhythm and blues band, a Spanish band, and a jazz band. So they split the night between maybe an hour apiece. And I remember working with Sonny in the Bronx one of those nights, and he played with everybody. He didn't take a break. He played with us, and then the next band came up, he played with them. Then the other band came up, and he played with them. It was amazing, all that energy he had. You know, he just loved to play.
Well, the funny thing is, I just not to digress, but some of the guys that had a chance to play with Sonny, that he just that rhythm section that he had with Don Patterson and Billy James, the drummer. Those guys would talk about how they would go on a circuit, and they'd say, they'd be talking to a younger player. They say, just after a while, other guys won't be able to keep up. You watch. They won't be able to keep up. The stamina and the energy, that's where they develop that from playing with all these different groups and all different types of music. Like you said, rhythm and blues, Spanish. And to me, that's how you build up stamina. It's like being an athlete in some ways. Yeah,
that's true. Yeah, because you don't know what was going to happen. And then people were all the time sitting in. And that was a challenge too, because you didn't know what they were bringing. And sometimes it was a surprise. You never heard that stuff before, so you have to adapt and quickly get into the groove,
You finally see your friend your parents' friend open up on the piano, and he's playing the Fats Waller tunes, and that's when things really came to life for you as far as what the piano could do.
Yes, because I was struck with singers were flying all over the place. I said, wait a minute, what's going on? I heard people play on the radio, but, to see it, be right there, standing next to him, it was amazing. So he started teaching me, like I said, he was showing me the scales and the chords and what to do, So I was just kind of fast. And, maybe 6 or 7 months later, I was doing little things, playing with different little groups, So, because I was actually just following what he taught me, And I suppose to my friends that were going there, they call music teachers, they were going the regular route where you practice and you know scales and you carry on with all that, and so it was kind of. I was learning songs. I was kind of, ahead at that point.
Right.
So anyway, I got a chance to work with a lot of singers at that time because I accompanied them, and like Jimmy Witherspoon.
I'm glad you brought that up because I want to cue up. I've been listening to this with my daughters all week. I want to cue this song up, have you take a listen to it, and we come back. We'll bring back some memories for you. Okay.
Okay.
Every night, just about 4. Who's the one turn my lights down low. And when it's time to go to sleep, who's the one who calls my name so sweet? Baby, 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 all night long. There may be others, for all I know, who could thrill me from head to toe. But who's the one that treats me right, thrill me in the morning, the noon and night? Baby, 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 I said baby, 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 all night long. Now who's the one who does what she can to always lend a helping hand? And when I'm sad and things go wrong, who takes me in her arms and hold me all night long? Baby, I'm talking about my baby. Oh, baby, baby, baby.
Whoa.
Yeah, baby. I mean, I seriously, I got home and I started to look at your discography here, and I said, "Oh my God, Mean Old Frisco! I have that album." Sure enough, I'm like, Gildo, Mahones. I'm like, and then I mean that whole side A, you. There. This is the thing, man. I don't want to. I want to keep my exuberance in check here, but it's like, here's the thing. You know, what I love the most about hearing you play is that it was Jimmy's, like it was his album, you know. He sang, he was clearly, his messages were clear, he was a great singer, and it was your job to, like, kind of spice things up, like the fills, and you would bring the da-da-da-da-da. I mean, to me, it was you were the ultimate accompanist, and all the guys that I interviewed, that's what they were. Kenny Burrell, George Tucker, Jimmy Smith, Leo Wright, Gildo Mahones. That was a band. That was awesome, man. So please, take it away.
Thank you. That brings back memories. Wow. I haven't heard that in years.
No, we're going to play some more later, but take us through it. I mean, what you were talking about is that you had an opportunity to play with singers, which meant you couldn't, you had to fill in and color around them. You couldn't play over them. So you had to right?
That's right. That's right. You had to find out where they were and lay down the foundation, and also when they laid out, I have to fill that space, and still make it colorful, you know. So it was an interesting challenge at the time, because you never knew what was going to happen, because all of the singers were different, and they had different styles, and you had to adapt to each one. So it was a lot of fun. I didn't know. I wasn't really aware at the time what all this was going on, but it was happening.
The whole side A is, you know, winding up. You know, nobody's in bed with him. He's got rocks in his bed. You know, one scotch, one bourbon, one beer. I'm like, this.
Yeah, right.
You know, it sounds to me. I'm like, I want to be where you are, you know?
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Yeah, I did several albums with him. I remember that was the Prestige. Yeah, I did 2 or 3 with around that time with him.
Yeah, exactly. There was this album was formerly cataloged as "Baby, Baby, Baby," which is the one we just heard. But this was a compilation that Prestige reissued called "Mean Old Frisco." But you know what? I'm looking here. I mean, in 1963, you did "Baby, Baby, Baby." You did Gumbo with Pony Poindexter. I used to have that on CD, but I don't know what happened to it. Having a Ball at the Village Gate with LH and Bavon, and Live at Basin Street East with Lambert Hendricks and Bavon, and then Pony Poindexter plays the big ones. Salud, Joao Gilberto, originator of the bossa. So you're doing blues, jazz, New Orleans funk. And then, of course, Yo-Ho, Poor You, Little Me, Frank West.
Oh, yeah, that was a good one.
You spent some time in the Army, and, you know, Army music today is a lot of evangelical Christian music. A lot, you know, you send some comedians over there. Boy, but it was a lot different back when you were. Could you talk about your experience in the Army and more specifically?
Oh boy, that's another story.
Well, let's go. I mean, let's go. I'm really curious because the whole. I want you to talk about your experiences in the Army and specifically the musical kind of things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I got a story for you. This was happening in the Army. I was when I got drafted. Went to the 82nd Airborne, North Carolina, and. I knew from the jump that it wasn't going to work. I went in there, and the guy pops out the tent in his T-shirt, and it was in the wintertime. We all got our clothes on. I had everything I could find to wear because it's freezing outside. Snow was on the ground, and this guy jumps out in his T-shirt and tells us, the chief to tell us to drop everything, take off heavy coats and everything, and we're going to do some marching and running and all that kind of stuff. I said, well, I'm not going to like this at all.
I wouldn't have done well either. That would not have worked out. Yeah.
So anyway, I tried to get into the band. I heard they had a band, but I couldn't get into the band. Okay. So now, I went to special, boot training and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, transfer us to Fort Hood in Texas. The other extreme is very hot.
Oh, yeah.
So that's another story. So we have to run in the heat and all that kind of stuff. So I said, this is not going to work either. So a friend of mine used to work in headquarters. He had access of different schools would come through, and they would say, if you want to go to this school, radio school, or whatever, they make a lesson, and they send it to your company, and whoever wants to partake has his name put on the list. So I told put my name on the list. So anyway, they sent me to the school, a radio school. So I thought this would be great because the schools were at that time were in Fort Monmouth and Fort Ord in California. So being from the East, I said that'd be great because I'd probably be in New Jersey and Fort Monmouth. So I applied for the school, put my name down, and they sent me to Camp Chaffee in Arkansas. I said, wow, it's going like from the frying pan to the fire. I said, wow. Anyway, but the funny thing was, while I was there, all this time I've been trying to get into special service, but while I was there in the service club in Arkansas, that's the area school. When you're up, you go to the service club, and I ran into this guy at the service club, and he was a linesman for another company, and he played a little piano, so we got to be friends. And he was telling me about how in his hometown they had these little bird groups, they call them. And he was waiting to get out the Army because he had an idea how to produce these groups. And they turned out to be he had it all laid out, and he turned out to be Barry Gordy later on.
Wow.
I thought it was Barry Gordy.
Yeah, Motown.
And yeah, Motown. And exactly the thing that he had lined up when we were in the service club is exactly what he did. He got the groups together and rehearsed them and put them on the board and did everything. Anyway, in the meantime, I'll go back to my haircut, finish the course in middle school. They sent me back to my unit in Fort Hood. So I'm now dealing with radios in the motor pool. So I'm trying to get into the band. I can't get into the band. It's a marching band, and I have room for piano. So I'm trying to get into special service. So at that time, unfortunately, we had that thing with the color stuff going on, where the bands were separate and all that was going on. So anyway, one time, I kept putting in for to get transferred to special service, and they keep rejecting it. So one time, the officers have to give a party, usually at that time, give a party once a month. All the high brass, like the generals and the captains, the colonels, whatever. And they take turns. So it's turn for this particular officer to give his party. And he wanted a pianist like a cocktail pianist to do the gig. So they scoured throughout the whole division. They couldn't find anybody, so they found my name. And I had just been working with Joe Morris before I was drafted. So I did the gig. So after the gig, they enjoyed it. Because I played, tunes that they knew or whatever. And after the gig was over, the guy comes up to me telling me how much he enjoyed my playing or whatnot. He says, "What's your name?" I know you're in special service. I said, "No, I'm not in special service. I've been trying to get there, but they keep rejecting it." He said, "What's your name?" So I told him my name. He said, "What?" I said, "Yo, probably Mahones." He said, "You'll be in special service tomorrow." And he had been the guy that had been turning down the transfer. So that's what happened. I got a special service, and it was very easy because I had my own room, and I had to make verbally, and you just have to play, give a show once a month. So that was only for the last 6 months of my duty tour. So that's what happened as far as the Army's concerned.
Did you come across? Did you meet Booker Ervin in the Army, or did you meet any of the cats?
No. Outside of I don't remember meeting anybody else outside of Barry Gordy. That was in Arkansas. I didn't remember anybody. Oh no, I'm sorry, I'm wrong. I think Lou Rawls.
Wow.
That was after.
Holy cow! You can't come up with two heavier cats than Barry Gordy or Lou Rawls.
I think Lou was. He was in the 82nd Airborne, but I didn't know him, but I remember, running upon him at the time. Yeah, so that was a different time, different scene.
You went on this flurry here where you came out of the Army, and first it was Lester Young. You were his regular pianist, and
Oh yes. Okay. What was happening with that was I was working at Men's Playhouse with Kenny Clark. He had the trio, Men's Playhouse, and I was working with him with Kenny Clark, Percy Heath, and myself. And then later on, Teddy Hill, I think it was Teddy Hill, he was the manager at that time. And anyways, I think we one of the larger groups. He wants to expand that group. So we got Bill Jackson, Sonny Rollins, and Jesse Drake on trumpet. Yeah, so that was the group. So we worked there for a while. And Charlie Carpenter used to come in to listen to the group. He was Lester Young's manager, road manager. And Jesse Drake used to work with Lester a lot, and he was in this group. So Jesse recommended me because at that time Lester was on the road with the Phil Philharmonic, guest at the Philharmonic, Tom Grant. Then we come back in town and they put a group together, and Jesse usually put the group together between Jesse and Charlie Carpenter, man. So anyway, I did before I got in the group. I think the last piano player was Junior Mans, I think, but he went back to Chicago. So Jesse suggested Charlie hired me. So that's how I got into Lester's band. And that turned out to be an eye-opening experience.
In what way?
Oh, in many ways. Because first of all, when I got in the bandstand the first night, he started calling out songs, and I didn't know what he was saying. He had a different name for the songs. He said pound cake or... he had a different name for the tune, so I didn't know what he was talking about.
and he didn't tell you beforehand, yeah.
Interpret.
Right.
Just would have to interpret what he was saying, and then I go into the tune, But, so anyway, I was. It took me a while to get it, but after a while it was okay. It's a funny man. He could play. He certainly could play. I enjoyed working with him very much. It's like a learning experience. After working with the other group, that was a learning experience too, because you never knew what was going to happen. People would come and sit in and they would call all kind of tunes, so you had to adapt or adjust very quickly to all types of situations. And making them work.
Right. It was the idea of kind of being a jack of all trades, and being able to fit into the mood, and not freaking out if something was happening that was not planned or scripted. Everything now is
right, because you never knew what was going to happen, and like with Prez, been working at Birdland, he would have people sit in. Like, people came to see him, Billie Holiday or Miles or whoever was in town, would come down and see him, and he would ask him to come up to the bandstand and play. So they bring a different situation, because you didn't know what they were going to call. You see what I mean? So it was a surprise.
So, it's so interesting because, at the time, for you, it's just, you're playing and, you're probably internalizing what you did well, what you could have done better,
right.
Trying to figure out what pound cake means and everything. But it's like, looking back on it, the sort of spontaneity and the freedom and the security of, nobody cared if you brought Charlie Parker up to play or Blue Mitchell or Lou Donaldson. Everybody was like, yeah, take your crack, and if you blow and you're good, that's great. Nobody was worried about being shown up. Maybe they were. But it just seemed to me like it was holistically a lot more of a brotherhood than anything that exists in the musical world today.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, because everybody enjoyed it. Everybody had a good time, and it was like a challenge. But they welcomed the challenge, Because people couldn't wait, to see what was going to happen. I remember one time, I was late for the gig with Prez, and at that time they would have two groups in Birdland, sometimes three, but sometimes two. And it was Lester Young, president, and the vice president, Paul Clancy.
Right.
Anyway, so I'm late. I'm getting off the subway at the corner. I'm running down to Birdland. I'm running down the street. I'm nearing the club. I hear Prez. I said, "Oh, they started without me." So I was really, concerned because they had started playing and I wasn't there. So I'm running down the steps, but it was Paul Quinnish.
Wow.
Who I mistook for Prez. I said, "Wait a minute, that's not Prez. That's the other guy." I had never heard this before. That was the first night. I've never heard him before. He sounded similar. I said, wow, he sounds a lot like Lester. As I'm listening. Then when we went on and I heard Prez, he didn't sound a lot like Prez at all. It was different. I said, wow. When you hear them together, if you hear them separately, you might hear certain notes or certain phrases that sound like Lester, but when you hear them together, Lester was still doing something different. So that was interesting.
You know, I wanted to just take this opportunity to, I wanted you to talk a little bit about, you know, the opportunity for someone like yourself who, you know, you were a, you know, you paid your dues and you were also, you know, you were an accompanist for many, many years. But then, you know, these great record companies like Prestige came along and you know, these two albums in particular, which I have to believe they're probably a few $100s. I haven't looked up I saw one copy of I'm Shooting High that on a website, it went for $31, but the entire bottom of the record cover was water damaged. So that one, I mean, I have to believe these are extremely expensive. I've never seen these albums, but somebody talk a little bit about who was instrumental in saying, "Hey, Gildo, it's your time to be a leader now."
That was Ozzie Cadena.
Oh, please! You know what? Talk about that guy because he's not with us anymore, and I've always been I see him on all the liner notes.
Yes, he was a very good producer at that particular time, and he gave me the first shot at recording. He had me quite a series of albums with. I think I did before I did my own album. I did something with Ted Curson.
Absolutely.
Trumpet player. Then I did another one with Booker Irvin.
I'm gonna help you out here. You got Bluesy Burrell with Kenny.
Yes.
You got Fire Down Below with Curson.
Right.
You got Gentle Gator with the Willis Jackson.
Oh yeah, I remember that one. Yeah.
Fast Livin' Blues with John Hendricks.
Yeah. Yes, I remember that.
You know, a bunch with Pony. But I mean, you were working out of that that Inglewood Cliffs studio quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he came to you, I mean, was it as simple as saying, "Hey, we got some extra money in the budget, Gildo. You want to make a couple albums?" How did it work?
Yeah, I think after going through all those recording all those people, they said, "Well, now's your turn," you know, something like that. Not exactly, but something like that. They gave me a shot, you know. So I did those two albums. I started out with the first one. Then we did one that was larger. The Soulful Piano, I think it was called, something like that. Which was like a two CD, or not CD, two album. Two albums.
Yeah, is it the Great?
12 CDs,
yeah. Was it a trio or was it a larger group?
I think it was a trio. I may have had. Let me see. No, I think that was a trio. I'm not sure, but
hey, Gildo, you know what I'm going to have to do now is find these albums and bring them out to you in the Bay Area when I get out there.
Yeah, some of those things. I haven't heard some of those things in years.
That's what I'm saying. You know, I mean, part of my job is to, you know, I do it all the time with the guys. Is you know, find them copies of records that they were on. Maybe it was a different issue, a reissue. But yeah, it's stuff that most of the time the stuff I'm playing they haven't heard, you know, in years, and it helps to spark some of that memory here.
Memories, yeah, the memories, yeah. Those were some of the groups, and then the things with the jazz modes. I really like those things.
So talk to me a little bit about what you are. How much of your music do you have right now? Are you able to access it? Do you have a vinyl player? Do you listen on CD? Do you have any of your music?
CD player, and I had a turntable, but I don't know where that went. Cause I had vinyls, and I have some of the records you mentioned, but I'm all over them. I have some of them. I'm vinyl, but most of them are been transferred to CD.
Well, before we move to Gildo's West Coast career, I just want to play another track of music here for you. Hopefully, bring back a couple more memories for you. Okay?
Okay.
One scotch, one bourbon, or one beer. Or one scotch, one bourbon, one beer. Yeah. Please, Mr. Bartender, listen here. I ain't here for trouble, so have no fear. One scotch, one bourbon, and one beer. I don't want soda or bubble gum. You got what it takes now. Give me some. Since my baby's been gone, every day is lost. I'm on this kick and I can't get off. One scotch, one bourbon, or one beer. One scotch, one bourbon, one beer. Hey, Mr. Bartender, listen here. I ain't here for trouble and have no fear. One scotch, one bourbon, or one beer. My baby started me on the spree. I can't find her and she can't find me. She left this morning, said she wouldn't stay. She's been out all night and it's the break of day. One scotch, one bourbon, or one beer. One scotch, one bourbon, one beer. Yeah. Hey, Mr. Bartender, listen here. I ain't here for trouble and have no fear. One scotch, one bourbon, or one beer. One more nip and make it strong. I got to find my baby if it's all night long. One scotch, one bourbon, or one beer. One scotch, one bourbon, one beer, yeah. Hey, Mr. Bartender, listen here. I ain't here for trouble and have no fear. One scotch, one bourbon, and one beer. Did you hear me, fella? I said, quarter corn, one scotch. Might as well put a bourbon on the side.
Yeah, I think I can do a scotch and a beer. I'm not sure about the bourbon.
Oh boy, Jimmy, he's a character.
Unbelievable. You know, I wanted to ask you, when was the first time you met Stu Gardner?
Stu Gardner met with Bill Cosby at that time. That was the first time I met him. Yeah, he was playing organ at the time, yeah.
And that was that when you had moved to Los Angeles at that point?
Yeah, I met him in L.A. Because, yeah. Because I was working at Piper on Crenshaw Avenue. That guy's there. We used to work together at Mahones and Ross when he came out here, and I came from out here much later. We were working at this club, new club. It was like Isaac, myself, and Jimmy Smith on drums. And this vocalist was Ozzie Cadena, to work with for years. But I think it was around that time I probably ran to studio.
And then, how did he? Just talk about, if you would, that experience of playing with Bill, because I'm not sure if you've had a chance to listen to the interview yet, but he's talking about the chords you were playing during his.
Oh boy.
Talk about what that environment was like, how Stu approached you, and how memorable a session that was, because it's one of those things in music history that it's not been chronicled well enough, and quite frankly, even on the albums themselves, the musicians aren't listed. So anytime I find out about another musician, I'm like, I gotta go after him, So I mean, do the best you can. Talk about that experience.
Well, Bill's. He has an idea what he wants you to do, come up with Cosby, and he assembles a group, and else he has a certain guy that could do this, whatever he had planned, somebody has heard, and then he all these certain suggestions that we follow. But on that particular album, I did some arranging, and so did Teddy Edwards. We did some of the tracks, and they'll change some of them around. Some of them that's the way we brought them in. So that's the way that went down. And, that's the way I remember it.
Was Bill in typical form with the comedy? Was he making you guys crack up in the studio?
Oh yeah, that's always there. No matter what's going on, that's always there. You never know what's coming up next, but that's always there.
How do you see how do you see yourself? Do you still play at home? Do you play out at all? Or are you still into? Do you still feel it inside of you that you have more to say?
Oh, I still feel it. I haven't been doing a lot lately due to the medical problems, but I still feel it. And I play at home. I play a lot. When I'm home, try different things. I'm still wearing different things. Different approaches to different things. Because my daughter plays the piano, and trying to get her to be more versatile person. And she's doing okay. She plays flute also, so that's nice. So sometimes we play together.
Well, that's beautiful. Does she play locally in around Oakland, or
no, she's not at that level. But she started out when she was very young. She was playing classical music. She was very young, and but we play at the house a lot,
Gildo Mahones, it has been an honor, my friend, and I look forward to doing more with you in the future. And thank you for all your contributions and your continued contributions to our musical cultural heritage.
Oh, thank you so much. I really enjoyed it. And the time went so fast. I went too fast.
Well, we'll do it again soon, okay, brother?
Okay.
All right. Take it easy, man. Have a good one. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Take care.